Okay, greetings, everyone. Uh, it's been a long time since I did a video. Of course, my name is Richard Taylor. I'm the author of Brushes with Death and Wrongfully Accused, Rightfully Acquitted. I'm also the founder of Taylor House Publishing, and I've published some other works. However, I also consider myself like a social activist, one who advocates for the community, one who is concerned about the state of, urban communities, pretty much black people here in America. And of course, this is Memorial Day weekend, and I'm down here in my hometown of Goldsboro, North Carolina, where it's always home. It's always a good place to be here. My family and my mother, they still reside here, so it's definitely a blessing to have them still here and to see so many friends and acquaintances and associates throughout the years. Those who are who come back and visit. It's always good to see those faces and share that camaraderie and reminisce on those experiences, especially high school. Shout out to class of '97 who had their 20th year reunion, and shout out to everybody in Goldsboro and those who are not in Goldsboro anymore as well. I just wanted to make this quick short video, considering this is Memorial Day, and from an American standpoint, Memorial Day is in place to celebrate the lives of soldiers who have fought for this country and died for this country in the numerous wars, whether they're talking about the American Revolution, the Civil War, Vietnam, Korea, Iraq, any of those conflicts that this country has been involved in. They have always memorialized those soldiers who fought. And, of course, I don't agree with any war, so I'm not going to get into that in particular. But it's always good to honor the dead. And the reason for this video is there's another group of soldiers who are being, slaughtered in the streets, and there are no memorial for. This weekend, I came home to a Saturday night. I got there Friday night, and I came home to, the knowledge of, one of my associates, one of my, a young man who I had, I didn't know him real good personally, but, I know who he was. I know his brother Vars. And, I found out that this young man who, had been recently coming to grips with, his lifestyle and trying to change his life had been slaughtered, murdered, here in the streets of Goldsboro. And I definitely want to send out my condolences to the family of Daryl Braswell and Vars. I offer my sincere condolences to you and all your family. I know this is a definite trying time. I can't imagine what you guys are going through right now. But it just seems like that put a damper on my spirit for the weekend, because actually I never even participate in any Memorial Day activities. I think this is only my second year returning during this time since I've left. And even when I was living here, I never went out to any of the festivities. However, I did try to participate in one of the events, and I also want to give a shout out to Councilman Bevan Foster and Councilman Antonio Williams, who solicited about 100 black men to walk with them in the parade, to show solidarity and unity in the community. And I definitely applaud them for that effort, and I was there to support that effort, as well as Pinky Jacobs' effort, who's a very strong advocate in the Goldsboro community, about changing the state of affairs in the black communities here. So, but definitely, after the parade, and I just felt, that there was something, going on in this town that needs to be eradicated, and that is, the senseless slaughter of our young black men. And I definitely don't consider that unique to this area, because honestly, last week in the city of Norfolk, where my daughter and her mother stay, and I live close by, there were actually 4 murders, and all of them young black men, within last week. And actually, one of them happened not even 100 yards from where my daughter and her mother resides at. So this issue of black men killing black men is not unique, to a certain area. I always hate when people say, "Oh, I can't stand Goldsboro. It's nothing to do there." And people always killing each other. There's drugs, violence, and gangs. But I hate to break the news to you guys, but there are drugs, violence, and gangs, and pretty much a lot of calamity in every black community in America. And, there's a lot of forces involved. Of course, one, we always want to take self-responsibility for that, each man is responsible for their own actions, their own activities, which leads him to either jail, prison, or death. But definitely there are a lot of social factors that contribute to this, and I always harp on, it's the judicial system, for one, the educational system, the military industrial complex, the prison industrial complex, and even, the foods we eat, has a different, drugs, guns. There are not that many good jobs in the black neighborhoods, but there's definitely an overabundance of guns that people, as young as 12, 13, 14, 15 can get their hands upon. And, you have to look at that and say, okay, well, they're not giving any money to schools, but they have enough money to build $1 million jail in the county. And this is actually in relation to the Goldsboro situation. I realized that they were or have already built, some nice big jail facility to house criminals. But there's a school here. I heard from one administrator or educator who said, the children at this one particular school, which is in the inner city, I think he said, Dillard, they don't even have textbooks at the school. They said that the teachers have to actually run copies. There's one textbook for the class, and the teachers have to actually run copies for the students to get their lessons. So therefore, you can see in plain as day that they're not putting money into educating the children. They're putting money into incarcerating those children that they fail to educate. So we see right here that there's a plot in play, to definitely disparage the growth of our youth. And we as elders, or we as parents, have to be more vigilant in addressing these situations with those powers that be who control that money. And that's why I give such a heartfelt effort to those councilmen who try to address those issues with their other councilmen who are not too concerned about the urban communities, but more concerned about the suburban communities, or the business aspect, or the beautification of the city, those certain parts that they want to beautify, instead of, those urban areas. Like right now, I can ride down certain streets and I see boarded up building, got the boarded up building, got the boarded up building, got the boarded up business. And those areas are in a darker, in the urban neighborhood. And why you see, such beautification going on in certain areas, the downtown, the suburban area. And I'm sure that, if those situations, those abandoned buildings were in those prominent places where people run their businesses, that wouldn't continue. So then you have to ask yourself a question, why is those areas in such disarray? And once again, it's just about, the money aspect. A lot of people are not real aware that politics are controlled by money. And, here's an example. Like, you can have a politician and you can say, hey, I voted for you. Whether that politician be local, state, government, president, the politician can say, okay, well, so did a million other people. What makes you special? However, now, if you go to that politician and you say, hey, sir, I donated $500,000 to your campaign, and then that you have that politician would in turn say, oh, okay, you have my attention. What can I do for you? So you must understand that, you have to have money behind your vote. Voting is important, but, if you're not donating any money to these candidates or, these systems, then they have no obligation to you. So, but there's definitely, like I said, there's a spirit of death and destruction within the black community. Whereas, the next night, there was a young man who was also slaughtered. Not slaughtered, but he was shot. He's listed in critical condition now on that Saturday, which is also, a time where everybody out memorializing, those soldiers. But here we are. We have a war being fighting in the streets on a daily basis amongst, black men, that nobody's just, sweeping under the rug. They'll remember you for 2 weeks, but then after that, it's on to the next day. So, with that being said, I've been around here for about 2 or 3 days, and it's funny to me that I can, just being around places or visiting certain places here and there, or, having conversations with people, that I can find out so much about what's going on and who did what and why and all of these things. And it's amazing that, the Goldsboro Police Department, with a force of I don't know how many officers, but, they can't find out who did nothing. So that once again, that raises a question of, are these police complicit in these actions that are, occurring? Because of course, the higher the city's crime rate, or the more, violent death occurs, or the more crime, drugs, and gang activity that a city is encased with, then that the government sends more funding to to that department or that city. So therefore, you have to see, well, is it really beneficial to the police department monetarily wise to stop this, or would they allow it to keep going on so they can get more funding, get better cars, get better facilities, build more jails? So once again, you have to realize that I hear people complain about the police not doing anything, but once again, there comes a time when us black men have to police our own communities. And like I can go down the line. There's been, and these two shootings are not by themselves, because I can also another young a friend of mine, a great friend of mine, his son actually was once again violently gunned down about 2 weeks ago, and I want to send my condolences also to Brian Barnes and Ron Fourier Raycott on the death of his son Shy. And I can, and if I go down the list of everyone who I know or who have been affected by death or naming each death, we'll be here all day. But certainly know that these are not the only deaths, and these are not the only deaths that I'm concerned about. But definitely it's my hometown, so I want to be a sort of an advocate for the young men. And I realize that we are fighting a war. We have a whole bunch of soldiers who know they have a common enemy, or they know that they are under a certain state of compartmentalization, that they don't know who to fight, so they only fight amongst themselves. And that's why I was reading the paper just now about the young man who was killed, and they said they don't know if drug or gang activity was involved. Of course, I consider those things, one and the same. And, I don't criticize anyone for the lifestyle that they live or why they choose to live it, because, me, myself, I'm far from perfect. And I have been all my life far from perfect, and I'm still now far from perfect. So I can't point the finger at any one of, a group of people by the way they live, because I've lived a lifestyle that was criminal as well. So, for my own different reasons. And, I understand a lot of times that is a way that people sometimes feel that that's all they have. So I don't want to point any fingers, because honestly, I don't understand the gang situation, because from my understanding, from my studies, the gang were first started to protect black people from, the police brutality, the police infiltration of their societies, their communities, and things of that nature, to provide protection for all of the people who were being, raped and murdered and jailed unjustly by police. So here we have an organization that was started out as good, but then it's all of a certain turn on its own. And whether that be because of money, because of drugs, because of, reputation, I'm not sure. But the only thing I know is that, they've placed drugs, guns, and, other entities in this community to have us fighting each other over those little resources. When in actuality, there's always a better way. I think the drug life wasn't made to be a lifestyle. It was made as a way in the 70s and 80s when black men were denied employment, or the 60s when black men were denied employment, were denied a fair shake. A lot of those black men turned to the drug game, the underworld, to establish enough money where they didn't have to go and ask a person who just raped and lynched them for a job. No, they could establish their own business. And so you see, Black Wall Street and Wilmington and all of those, Tulsa, Oklahoma, where all of those black prolific societies were then infiltrated and destroyed by the greater American society because of their jealousy of what those black people were able to accomplish on their own. We see they were destroyed. And the only reason why they were destroyed because they didn't have an infrastructure to protect themselves. So this we see here today, where we have a whole bunch of warriors. We have a whole bunch of soldier class young black men who are ready to go to war for their right to live in, joy, peace, and happiness. But they're warring against each other because they don't see the bigger picture that we are all under a common system that, has for years denigrated and, belittled our race. So, and then once again, when we see that, we turn, and if you're told, you're nothing from the time you're in the kindergarten to 12th grade, and which that's all they do in school. They teach you about the greatness of white people, and the only thing you learn about black people is Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and slavery. And so all of those things tend to place in the mind, okay, these people are better than us. And once again, if you're told a lie for so long and so loud, then you start to believe it. And then you looking at your brother, okay, he's a criminal. He's suspect. I got to watch him, or I got to watch him. I can't trust him. So it puts you in enmity against each other and not willing to put those stereotypes and those learning things that you've been taught as a child away, and then be able to unify with each other. And so that's what we're basically up against. And, this issue is way, way more deeper than a 15-minute YouTube or a Facebook Live post. But I definitely want to garner all of the support for the councilmen here who are fighting, for the advocates here, for all of the people who are doing great things. I can name some people who are doing some great things, but I don't want to leave anybody out. So, the people, the greater Goldsboro community know who's here and who are trying to do those positive things. And, these people cannot do it by themselves. So we're asking everyone, whether you are a gang leader or, you are a street dude, or whether you are a pastor, whether you are a businessman, whether you are a scholar, whether you are a teacher, whether you are an automobile dealer, whatever capacity that you can serve the community in to make, not only Goldsboro, but, the greater urban community in Goldsboro better and a safer place to live, where people will feel comfortable to come home and, be able to leave their doors unlocked, as I always hear the stories about my mother and father tell. We all need to gather support against each other, where, a lot of times we are pitted against each other in certain arenas. Nobody's perfect. Even the most perfect person that you think you see, they still have their flaws. So, I'm asking everybody to come together, and kind of reach out to these young men who feel as though, no one cares. All of these acts of violence are pretty much cries for attention or cries for help, or, hey, this is me. Oh, you don't see me?